For literally hundreds of years, psychologists have been asking the question of why do people do what they do? Truth be told, we all have a filter that helps us determine what decision to make. What option are we going to go with? We have these internal filters that we use to determine if an opportunity is for us, or if we're going to pass on that opportunity. The problem is most of us, our filter is very unconscious. Kris shared with us today on a very special call what his filter is in business. And if you can have a good filter for accepting opportunities or turning opportunities down, it will be the key to your success in business, in real estate, as an entrepreneur, in sales. It is applicable across the board. But I have to pause and say one thing. This was taken during a mastermind call, which is where we have people pay a considerable amount of money to be mentored by Kris one-on-one. And after this mastermind happened today, I spoke with Kris and he agreed that if we don't share the entire mastermind, he'd be okay sharing this small portion where he teaches about his filter and making it public. So I feel like we're kind of peeling back the curtain, kind of showing behind the scenes on how Kris does this. And his system or his filter for how he gauges opportunities and determines what's right for him, it's really, really powerful. So buckle up and we're going to hear from Kris all about his business filter.
Yeah. So here's what I want to do. I want to share an acronym with you as I'm working with my writing team on this book. And the acronym is FILTER. I have a filter for how I make decisions. And I find that most people have maybe one or two filters. I have 6 filters that I consult before I ever make a decision. And the acronym FILTER, FILTER, I want you to write that down, take some notes on this, because 3 of my filters are rational, 3 of my filters are irrational, and all 6 of them must be consulted before I make a decision in my life. I weigh my decisions carefully. And so here are the 6 reference points. And by the way, today I'm going to leave enough time for some interaction, some conversation. So as you have questions about these, drop it in the chat. Marianne and Carson will be able to evaluate that. Also, if you can link anything you're learning today to any of your recent wins and successes, we definitely want to hear about that as well. That's really what the byproduct here is. The byproduct is that with each passing month, as this year goes by, you develop more streams and you're implementing what you're learning and you're putting yourself on track to have the level of wealth that first can support your family, but then ultimately generations. This is about legacy work. That's what we're doing. Yeah. All right. So let me share the acronym of FILTER, FILTER. And this is going to go in a book that is going to be titled about time machines. It's like literally, how do you reclaim time? How do you maximize your time? How do you leverage your time? And before I share this acronym, I want to tell you about my upbringing, because I was a weird kid as a teenager, in the standpoint that my dad had a construction business. And I remember always telling my dad's like, oh my gosh, the economy is doing really well. We could grow and expand our company. And I said, well, Dad, why don't you? He says, son, if you want something done right, you got to do it yourself. You can't trust people. And there was this one moment when he spoke to me. I was a 16-year-old. It was summertime. I was working with him and he was doing the finish work on this fireplace. And I'll never forget it because he had his plane right there and he was doing this beautiful, masterful movement. And my dad was trained as a master craftsman from Germany, came to America in his mid-30s. And so here's my dad. And I would always ask Dad, let's expand the business. Let's grow it. Like, I don't even know what was wrong with me then, but my dad shut it down.
Still don't know what's
It's only gotten worse.
And my dad convinced me. He said, son, I'm telling you, you got to trust me. You can't trust people. Trust me. You can't trust people. If you empower people, they won't do it as well as you can, and you shouldn't do that. So when I was in college and I decided that I wasn't going to be a doctor anymore because I was told as much because I was too stupid to do well in chemistry, I started giving myself permission to do something I swore I never would. Like my dad, purged entrepreneurship from my soul. He said, you don't want to own your business. It's the hard way. It'll never be the right way. Go to college, work for somebody else, golden parachute. You want that. And of course, we're living in Redmond, Washington, which is Microsoft town, where every 10th person in Microsoft is a millionaire. And so my dad just believed if you go to college, you're going to learn something there that's smarter than an entrepreneur that works for himself. So when I decided I couldn't be a doctor, and keeping it really short here, I started, looking at all my other degree options. I'm like, crap, $50K a year here, $80K a year here, $110K a year here. Sounds like if I get this degree, I'm going to have a career where I can work for somebody else and I'll make enough money to pay bills. But how am I going to get ahead? It's not going to happen. So I said, you know what, maybe dad wasn't right about entrepreneurship. Maybe I should give it a second crack. And at that point, I had a mentor in real estate who started teaching me, and I started buying homes, right? You know the story. Well, I got to a point where 4 years into my real estate business, I had 25 properties. And I was doing this lease option methodology, which meant that the workload as a landlord was a tenth of what it would have been if I was, just doing straight rentals. And however, I got to 25 homes, and at 25 homes, the load became burdensome. Hey, I have a problem with this thing. Hey, can you meet me at the house? Hey, you have 4 new homes. We need to do showings on Saturday. And I'm like, I started pulling at my hair. I'm like, oh, I've got the 6-figure residual component from my real estate, but dang it, it wants my time. Mm. And even though it was paying me 6 figures, I didn't believe that it should get my time. And so I remember there was this moment where I bucked my dad's philosophy, because he was on the shoulder saying, if you want something done right, don't do it yourself. And I literally, that day when I felt like I was at my breaking moment, I was like, no. Because here's what I never told you, Carson, Marianne, I want to tell you, I'm literally about to quit my job. I had just graduated college. So I was about to shirk off the 800-pound gorilla called 18-hour credits. Ugh. Then my real estate business was producing 6 figures, but my job was paying me less. It was 6 figures, but it was a smaller 6 figures, and it wanted my other 40 hours a week. So in this 1 week, my real estate was like breaking my back with wanting my excess time. I had just shirked off college, and I was just quitting my job. And I thought my life would be so perfect if I could just also get rid of real estate, and then I would have all of my time back. And so I said, Dad, I love you, but here's going to be the philosophy I'm going to try. If you want it done right, don't do it yourself. And I called up my buddy, Stephen Miller in Florida. And I said, I want to pay you 3 of my $12,000 a month of residual income and this commission structure on selling my lease options, because I'm now buying multiple homes a month. He came in, he built a basic, $6,000, $8,000 a month thing for his family. And I walked from real estate and I was done. And I traded something. I gave up a quarter of that income, but I walked away from 98% of the work. And I learned something that day. My time is way more valuable. I would rather sacrifice some of that money to get some of that time back. So that was the beginning of like casting off full-time student, full-time employee, and then full-time real estate. And all of a sudden I became 100% free. And you know what I did? I started building companies and businesses. And today I own hundreds of companies. And it's easy. It's never been so easy in my life, but it's because of what I'm about to share with you, Filter. So let me give it to you. I want you to write this down. Filter is an acronym. The F stands for finance, which means, and this is a rational filter. I've got 3 rational and 3 irrational. Finance, I literally have to question, what will I be paid dollar per hour? I want to know the value of my time. And what you should do, whether you work for somebody else or whether you are self-employed, you should make a list of the 10 top activities you do and what the value of that is if you were to pay somebody else to do it. Like, for example, Marianne has to update spreadsheets in her job. And if she had admin that updated that, she should ask, how much do I pay someone to do that? And it's like, oh, it turns out that is $18 an hour. And Marianne might say, at my earning rate, I'm earning, $280 an hour. Should I be doing $18 an hour work? That's what I want you to do. I want you to list your top 10 and I want you to become familiar. I want you to rank them. What are you spending your time on that pays you minimum wage? Because I swear you do it.
We all do.
By the way, it's the same reason people literally, I used to have some friends, I got better friends, but I had friends that would make fun of me. They're like, Krohn won't order his own pizza. He won't take his own dry cleaners. He has people make food for him. Like, the dude's lazy. He doesn't do anything. And they're right about one thing. I will not do things below my earning potential. So you make your list and you've got at the lowest, you're going to rank them. What do I do that's $15 an hour? What do I do that's $20 an hour? What do I do that's $30 an hour? But I promise you, no matter what you're doing in your life, I swear to you, you are doing things in your life where you are worth in the least hundreds of dollars an hour. Even if you're being paid $50,000 an hour, You might spend 70% of your time on really low wage stuff and a handful of hours doing really valuable stuff where you're earning $100 or $200 or $300 an hour. That's what you'd have to pay for someone to perform that key function. If you're an entrepreneur, it can quickly turn into thousands or even 5-digit or 6-digit figures. So let me just break it down for you. In my world, there is one activity I do that pays me $300,000 an hour. But last year on average, my overall average earnings for the entire year had me earning about $8,000 an hour. So on my list, clearly I'm doing some things that are worth a couple $1,000s an hour. I'm doing some things at $8,000 an hour, and I'm doing some things at $25,000 an hour. I'm doing some things at hundreds of thousands of dollars an hour. You need to know for you today, screenshot what that looks like, because here's your goal once you have it. Here's what the filter says. Number one, your goal is to eliminate the low things on the list. And when you do, it'll free up time. How do you eliminate it? You say no if you can, or you pay someone else to do it, or you can be effective at doing it. The high things on the list, write this one down. The highest paid thing you do, I want you to double that number. Let's say the highest paid thing you do is $500 an hour. Then I want you to double it and say, as I eliminate the low things on my list, I'm going to enjoy having my time back. Nature pours a vacuum. It's going to suck the life out of me and start filling it with stuff again. I say no, because my standard, write this down, my standard is, unless I'm being paid $1,000 an hour, I can't say yes. You're going to create a predicament. The predicament is you're going to delegate your low wage stuff and you're going to free up your time. And part of you, your nature is going to go nuts and say, I need to fill it with crap. Don't do that. Don't do it. Enjoy your life. Take the time and have fun, weight cars. And then what I want you to do is only say yes to the things that are double your highest earning rate. If you can find a way to honor any part of this rule and standard in your life, then this F for finance, the filter for finance says, I'm now making my best, most rational decisions on the value of my time because I understand the value of my time when I get coffee for so-and-so. I understand the value of my time when I gas up my car. I understand the value of my time when I present to the board. I understand the value of my time when I'm working on this pitch deck. And as you understand that, you develop standards. When do I say yes? When do I say no? You should change your decision-making on this one piece alone. And this is just the first of the 6 filters.
I'm sorry, Kris. This is blowing my mind because this is new to me too. Kris hasn't talked to me about these filters yet. And I just realized something. Warren Buffett's always talking about how wealth is a process of moving money from low yield to high yield. You're doing that with time.
Yes.
You're saying this is a low yield time function. How do I move it to a high yield time function?
We also don't like, unless you're a teenager, we don't like understanding the value of our time in terms of dollars. No. And the reality is that because by nature, most of us will equate our self-worth to our earnings. If you're the core earner in your family, what's sad is I'll meet so many people that are like, oh, I make $40,000 a year. And they speak like someone who feels that their self-worth is $40,000 a year. And I'm like, no. There's a system to grow that. Even if you work for somebody else, you want to align yourself with a company that says, I want to find a way to minimize the less valuable things that I do for you. I want to get gooder at the higher value things. And I'm going to swap this time for that time. And they might say, no, you're not hired to swap time. They're like, great. Then I'm going to work an extra 10 hours a week. And the extra 10 hours will be on the more valuable stuff. Because when you have to dish out a raise, you're going to have to give me one, because 6 months from now, I will be able to show you the amount of money I've made for you that you never asked me to. I will go above and beyond. I will force you to give me a raise. Every one of you has to have a plan like that.
Absolutely. I was thinking about the
By the way, I got to wait real quick, Marianne. Carson, you say I've never taught you this, but do you remember our conversation 2 months ago when we were talking about the new Nom Nom Mastermind? Yeah. And I said, drop this, do that. I have been imposing this on you the entire time, just not taking the time to teach you. Well, the book's not coming out, guys, till 2024.
I don't know. It's just different when you set it up like this. I'm like, let's keep going.
I was sharing this with my sisters yesterday, not even knowing what I was sharing with them, because we were all we had this text thread with all of us and we're like, oh, what are we doing today? And I said to my sisters, I realized how much time and energy I put into not having to leave my house. I'm on Instacart. I'm on DoorDash. I don't go to the grocery store because my time is most valuable spent with my family.
You're like, if you're not at work, you want your time on your family.
Exactly.
So
I don't want to
eliminate
be spending
all the other
around the grocery store or anything like that. So it's really helpful to do an inventory, just like Kris said. Where are you spending your time? And think about it in terms of work, and think about it in terms of your daily tasks outside of work too. If you could pay someone $7 to go to the store for you.
So I'm about to say something, Marianne, that's going to be a little disheartening for some people to hear. Why should you be really good at balancing your budget and saving? You're going to say, well, Kris, you've taught me that I'm saving money for investing. But now I want to add something new to that. You're not just saving money for investing. Sometimes some of the money you've set aside for investing is meant to be spent on these optimizations. Mm-hmm. So when Marianne says, oh, shoot, well, I just use Instacart now. Marianne might actually run her budget. And let's just say she theoretically found that she's paying a premium on groceries by doing it that way. Let's just say, we're not here to talk about it, but let's just say that she's paying an extra $100 a month to have access to that. But if it saves her 6 shopping runs equivalent to 6 hours for $100, then Instacart is being paid $18 an hour for her to recuperate that time. And Marianne, I want to ask, in 6 hours, how many more memories can you make with your family?
Infinite.
And do you think those memories are worth more than $100?
A million times.
Hello, this is called the positive arbitrage of financial decision making. So I have a lot to cover and I want to get to Q&A. So if you guys have questions on this, drop it, but allow me to go faster.
So much value. You keep up with your gold nuggets.
Okay, so finance, it's rational. Understand the value of what you'd pay someone to do things and stop doing things below your highest earnings. You just set a standard. I say no. And then it's going to create a predicament. Well, shoot, then I'm going to have to delegate or miss out. You're right. Mm-hmm. That's the whole purpose of a standard, is because now you're saying no to the right things. All right. Number 2, I in filter. If F is finance, I is intuition. This is an irrational. We're now going to balance the rational with the irrational. What is intuition? Some people call it your gut instinct. When I make a decision, I want to actually weigh in with my higher source and power and my highest and best self on whether I should or shouldn't do something. And that belongs in a book I thought I would never write. And the truth is, I have a process. When I make decisions, I'll always check in. And you might have heard that language before. Mm-hmm. I'm going to check in with myself, which means I'm not just rationally asking, does it financially make sense for my time arbitrage? I'm also asking, does it feel like the path I'm supposed to be on? And so someone puts an opportunity in front of me and I can make 10 times more money, but it doesn't feel right. Guess what? Say no. Why? If you develop a standard for dishonoring your gut or your intuition, you're basically going to war with your highest self. You're going to war with God. And what you're going to develop is doubt. And doubt you can't afford in the wealth growing game. It's too expensive. So you need to align yourself with your intuition, or else you're going to feel out of alignment. And if you're out of alignment and you know it, that means you're doing the thing that rationally makes sense. Like, for example, stock market. So I got people reaching out everywhere. Stock market, January, worst January forever. And I'm losing money. Kris, should I pull money out? I have a buddy with $3.something million sitting in there. And he's like, should I pull it out? And I said, well, let me ask. Is all of that supposed to be there? He's like, no, 2/3 of it is just like literally set aside for this other investing thing that will take a year to come about. Like, then why the heck do you have it in the S&P? Well, I thought I would go up and make some money. No, it can go up, it can go down. Don't do that. The 2/3 take out. What about the other third? Oh, I'm a long player. I'm going to be in there long term. I'm like, great. It's logical for you to leave a third in because that's your long-term play and you understand the math of it, and take 2/3 out because it's meant to be elsewhere. He said, well, Kris, that's the rational. I said, now I need you to check in and ask what feels right. He might say, Kris, it actually doesn't feel right for me to have anything in there. I'm like, great, then piss off your broker. Then take it all out.
Come buy real estate with us.
Okay. So the point is that I would say that on a fairly regular basis, I make decisions that don't always make sense, but they align with my intuition. And that means that I feel better as a human being in my life choices. And it also means that I've developed trust with myself. Go against your gut. Go to war with your spirit. Good luck. I think that you're going to become inconsistent. I think your results are going to be haphazard. More importantly, I don't think that you're going to feel happy about your life. The third one, logic, filter, F-I-L-T-E-R. The third one, L, stands for logic. Have you weighed out the logic? Have you researched this decision? Hey, so-and-so just gave me a hot tip on crypto. Great. Are you looking at putting money at it because of gossip? Or did you actually read the white paper to understand it? No. My buddy who's really good at crypto just got in on it. So I'm getting in on it. Okay. I'm going to argue that is irrational. Be logical for a moment. If you don't have a system to logically process a decision, then you're not using one of the tools that God gave you. You are not your mind, just like you're not your body. You're also not your feelings. You're meant to master these things and use them as tools. My feelings are tools that tell me whether I'm on the right or wrong path, or that I'm worshiping a good belief or a false belief. Similarly, my mind is meant to help me process. So use it. use it or lose it, baby. So the third one is logic. You should actually go through a process to say, can I actually logically break this down, research it, and understand the consequences of this choice? For example, oh my gosh, she's so hot. I just want to sleep with her. Okay, let's just slow down for a minute. The next morning, the next year, the next month, your wife finds out. Logically help me understand what that consequence looks like. Well, she's going to divorce me, dump me to the curb, and take half the money, and she should.
So
good. So maybe it feels good, but logically, this is probably a dumb decision. By the way, divorce that happens from people messing around like that is one of the dumbest and worst decisions that you can make financially. So like, look at the logic of your decisions as well. T,
yes,
time arbitrage. So there's not just financial arbitrage, the first of the four filters, or first of the six filters, but time arbitrage, which means you have two choices. You can do this thing in an hour, or you can do this thing in 20 minutes. Marianne, we were in a private meeting earlier today, and you're like, hey, so HR is getting together with training, and I want to just be a little bit more involved in the hiring process, even though I have people on my team, 2 people that do that for me. And what did I tell you?
Why didn't you listen to me? That's pretty much what you told me.
I told you not to do it, but why though?
Absolutely. Because the time that I spend there is not as valuable as the time I can spend.
What was the more valuable time I said though?
The other more valuable time is managing all the other categories.
Yeah. And you have one category that literally pays you 50 times more money.
Mm-hmm.
So I want your self-interest to say, wait a second, Kris, are you giving me permission to really trust my team and take that other 20% and make $250,000 extra this year? And what's my answer?
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. So you have to look at the value of your time. I like to look at my time this way. The lowest thing that I do is worth $2,000. The highest thing is worth $300,000. So now I have a filter on the value of my time. Now I should be asking, how much time am I going to give something? My buddy, Dan Olson, that you've heard from before, he said, hey, Kris, one of the 3 companies that I'm pushing really hard is a suit that you wear to the gym. It will electrostimulate all your muscles. And what it does is it has scientifically proven to deliver 1 hour of exercise to your muscles in 20 minutes. That franchise is going to be so meaningful to entrepreneurs or people that have time issues, or say, I don't have time to go to the gym, but I can rent the freaking suit. And when I go for a jog, I can get in 20 minutes what would take me an hour. That's called time arbitrage. By the way, I'm just going to say this. I do have people in life that do my dry cleaning. I have people in my life that fix scrubs on floors, organize my closets, get me things, sell things. I have a brand new Can-Am coming because a drunk person hit my old one and broke it. And I said, it's still winter in some parts of the country. Get me snow tracks. And I texted her this morning. I said, did you get my tracks? She says, the person didn't respond, but I'll take care of it in the morning. She's going to call the person, give them my credit card, and save me 7 minutes of my life. Now, we can do math on what 7 minutes of my life is worth. And I promise you, it's worth paying this person. I have a whole staff of people in my home that run everything. And by the way, I have that same staff serving my wife because I want her to be a more connected mother, right? By the way, that's one of the values. That's one of the reasons for being financially successful, is so that you can stop prostituting time for the things that you don't want to do anyway. If you're going to have sex, you might as well have it with the people you want to, right? Like for money, I got that got a little serious. Carson, like, wow, that's a really, right? But
I just have one person.
Interesting analogy, Kris.
Right? E, energy. So we've got finance, intuition, logic, time. The 5th of the 6 filters is energy. This is an irrational thing, because a lot of people will say, who cares if it makes you happy or sad or gives you energy or takes your energy? You should do it if it's logical. And this is a little bit like intuition. I will actually ask, does this bring my energy up or down? Because you guys have noticed I'm a super high energy person. Come to my event this week, you're going to see Kris Krohn for 3 days, like on fire energetically. And it's not hard. I'm not going to take Sunday and recuperate. I'm not going to take next week and recuperate. I'm just going to step back into my life. How do I command all that energy? Because there's an alignment of saying this: my feelings are more important than my knowledge. Who cares what you know if you don't feel good? If you let your head win, you're going to be dead inside. But if you're connected to your heart, you can live a deeply meaningful life. So one of my filters is, how will it make me feel? What is the energy behind it? So for example, why on earth would I go to Miami at the start of January with Marianne to spend 3 days teaching parents and teachers in this school system my emotional breakthrough technology, And the donor is sending my foundation $25,000 in gratitude. That doesn't even begin to cover my private jet. Why would I do it? And it's because 3 days of serving those people brings a balance to my life that defies logic, but feels good for the human being that I'm building in here, building a better human. So sometimes feelings are more important than money. Sometimes it's more important than time. Sometimes it's more important than logic.
Kris, I'll never forget. It was like 4 years ago at an event. You had a gentleman on stage. He was in his 60s getting ready to retire. And he said he'd been a lawyer for the past 30 years and he hated every single day of it.
Yep.
And I wanted to cry.
Yep.
Because he did it for the F filter. He's like, well, financially, a lawyer makes decent money. So
Makes
I'll be a
good
lawyer.
sense.
Makes good sense, makes good logic, but he hated it.
Yep.
And he can't get those 30 years back.
They're
No,
gone.
They're gone. I'll never forget sitting down with one of my first real estate partners. And he said, Kris, I've been so successful at my career. It's been a very fulfilling career. I've done very well. I make $500,000 a year now. I've got great stock options. It's been great. The guy was a rocket scientist by trade. And he was reminiscing and he said, my last child just got married. And there's a part of me that wishes to be that more connected father, but it doesn't, I can be a father for them as an adult now, but their childhood years, I can't get back. Yeah. And so I'm not going to say he made the wrong choice, but I sensed a feeling of regret where I said, to make the right decision can't just be about time and money. It can't just be about logic. There has to be more. It has to include the irrationality of intuition. It also has to deal with the energy of how you feel about things. Does it pump you up or does it rob life from you? The sixth and final is reward. That's what the R in filter stands for. And I think rewards are fairly irrational, not logical, irrational. And I want you to think about that for a moment. I believe that receiving a reward for what you're doing is actually really important, but most people keep moving the goalpost. So oh, not good enough yet, not good enough yet, not good enough yet. Just keep going, just keep going. They'll never know the answer to this question. When is it enough? Because they can't allow themselves to become present enough every day to enjoy the fruits of their labors. My day has to be fulfilling. I have to receive a reward. And it doesn't always make sense because it takes time away from, but that time could be spent making more money. Listen, the money that I'm paying to create optimization, to have more time with my kids, I could have also invested that with a really high ROI gig and made more money. But making money isn't everything. At the end of the day, there's a balance between family, money, and health. And if you're not investing in all three of them and in a way that produces your version of balance, then you have, I would say, an askew filter that isn't prioritizing everything. Guys, those are the 6 filters. We're going to open it up in just a moment for questions. So please start dropping them in. Filter stands for, it means I've got to filter in making any decision. I've got to look at the finances of it, the intuition, the logic of it, the time arbitrage, the energy, and the reward. And when all 6 of those line up, I swear I never have a regret. And that's what I want. I want also the regret-free life. It's one thing to want to be worth $100 billion in time. I believe I really will be. If God gives me enough time on this planet, I'm going to be worth $100 billion and I have no desire but to give it away. That's a fun game for me. That's a gift of mine and I'm playing it. I don't need to be elected president of the country to make decisions on trying to get $100 billion to the right people. I'll just do it myself, unelected by the people. I elect me. I choose me. And that's what I'm doing with my stewardship on this planet. So those are, over the years, those are the 6 filters I've developed for how I make decisions. And today it feels like I'm just always making the right decisions, which means that I really love my life. And it means that I have momentum on my side because I'm not sometimes moving forwards and then moving backwards. For the most part, I'm not perfect, but for the most part, it's a lot of moving forward.